Yes, it is testing time once again. And I'm sure a lot of your students, like this little girl, are feeling a little grumpy knowing that the Iowa tests are right around the corner. I wanted to create this video for you to ensure that you're comfortable with the administration process moving into the testing season. My name's Rob Laron. I work with Riverside Publishing as an account executive here in Southern California. I can be reached by email at robert.laron@hmhco.com or by phone at 949-370-0105. If you have any questions or concerns after watching this video or need clarification, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can also reach out to Ryan Cartwright in our customer service office at ryan.cartwright@hmhco.com, or you can give him a call at 630-467-6103. So today we're going to talk about packaging your answer documents, shipping your answer documents, using your school packets that were provided by Riverside Publishing. If you have not received your school packet, please contact myself or Ryan and we'll get one to you. And using the Data Manager reporting system. So some guidelines to help ensure that your package makes it to our scoring center safely. Please make sure that you use sturdy boxes with the flaps intact. Use double wall boxes for large quantity of documents. Reusing boxes. If you're going to reuse a box, please make sure there are no holes, tears, or corner dents. Please retape the bottom of the box and remove any old labels. We also need a return address and name on every box, and those can go right on your FedEx shipping labels. Box count. Please number each box in the set of boxes that you send to Riverside. Even if you're only sending one box, please indicate that it is one of one. If you're sending 3, indicate that the box is 1 of 3, or 2 of 3, or 3 of 3. Please package your boxes enough that they can hold up to stacking. Do not use peanuts or shredded paper to pack your boxes, as the residuals can cause problems with our high-speed scanners. Please include an order form in the box labeled box number 1 or 1 of 1. When you seal the box, make sure to use a minimum of a 2-inch wide packaging tape. Heavy boxes should use reinforced tape. Tape the opening of your box and reinforce all seams with 2-inch wide tape. And also make sure not to cover up any shipping labels. Alright, now 10 sins in testing that we see at Riverside Publishing. Sin number 1, administering the wrong test level to a grade. Sin number 2, an incorrect birth date recorded on a student answer document. Since COGAT scores use the birth dates to derive the age percentile ranking, an incorrect birth date will throw that score off. Sin number 3, an incorrect header sheet, or the grade class ID sheet not correct. Sin number 4, a wrong answer sheet used for a test level. Sin number 5, having an incorrect mailing label. The 6th sin, no order form for scoring service included in the package of documents to be scored. The 7th sin, mixed levels under a grade header sheet. Please make sure that all the levels under a grade sheet are the same for that grade. Sin number 8, test sent late to Riverside. This will hold up the scoring of the whole diocese. Sin number 9, barcodes placed in the wrong spot. And finally, the 10th sin, barcode labels placed on the wrong student answer document. So here are some examples of what we see at the Riverside Scoring Center. Here's what we like to see. Boxes are well marked and easy to identify. They've used the labels. We see a clear return address. If you look at the bottom of the box on the left, we can see that it's indicated it's 1 of 1. The box on the right indicates that it's 1 of 8. And be sure to include header sheets and your order forms, which we'll talk about when we talk about your scoring packets. So here's a nice set of boxes sent to our scoring center. Well stacked, everything's intact. Another nice set of boxes, nothing's torn open. They made it fairly well. We'll give these customers an A. But then we have our customers who maybe they didn't pay attention or didn't take the time to correctly pack their boxes. And you can see on the right, it looks like they just threw some paper around a box. I'm not sure what's going on there. And on the left, you can see that the seam busted. That probably could have been prevented by taping that seam. You don't have to alphabetize by grade, class, or school. Just make sure that you have indicated that you have your class ID sheets indicating what class and level the following answer documents belong to. Here's a couple more examples of, I think these are some D students here, some D customers. It looks like on the right hand side what they did were they put boxes inside of a box, which would create some problems. Look like it busted open. On the left hand side, it looked like they tried to use some Scotch tape to tape that seam. Make sure you use a strong packaging tape. The one on the left looked like they reused their Christmas decoration box. Didn't look like it was in great shape to begin with. And not surprisingly, it busted open before it got to the scoring center. Another example of an interesting little box here. It looked like the folds weren't even large enough to cover the entire box, and we can see that they didn't tape the seam on that corner. So in transit, not surprisingly, the box busted open. So just make sure you use a nice sturdy box and it's well taped at the seams. Also make sure your boxes are 40 pounds or below. Here's a nice one, 146 pounds. So our poor guys at the scoring center may or may not be at the chiropractor right now. So here's a little checklist to perform prior to packaging your test documents. Verify that you have an answer document for every student tested. Make sure that all required subtests have been attempted. If a student leaves a subtest blank, it can result in no core or composite scores. Leave all answer documents intact. Use the pre-marked building identification sheet for your shipment. On the pink form, the pink order form for Riverside Scoring Service, fill in the document count by grade and place this order form on the top of the building identification sheet in box 1. And we're going to go over these forms in just a bit when we talk about what's in your scoring packets. So let's address some frequently asked questions. If I have barcodes, do I need to bubble in the demographic data, such as name, birth date, and gender? The answer is no. It is all embedded in the barcode label. If a student has a barcode label and the teacher also bubbles in the data, do you need to erase it? No, you do not. The scanner will read the barcode label, not what's bubbled in that information. Do I need to fill in the box on the answer document that says teacher, school, city, yours will be system, LA Archdiocese, state, and grade? Yes, you do need to bubble in this information, or fill in this information. Do I need to fill in the student name on the inside of the answer document folder? Yes, please do. Also, if I have more than one box for shipping, do I need to put a building identification sheet, that's your purple sheet, in each box? No, you do not. The building identification sheet should always go in the box that is labeled number 1 along with your order form for scoring service, the pink sheet. So what do you need to complete on the order form for scoring services? Please make sure to indicate under each grade the number of answer documents included for that grade. This should match the number on the blue grade class identification sheet used for each teacher group. If you have more than one teacher or more than one class, please add the numbers of answer documents on each grade class identification sheet for that grade level, and that total number will go on your order form for scoring services. Do you have to separate out the students with accommodations? No, you do not. As long as they are properly coded, there is no need to separate these students out from the rest of their class. So that concludes my PowerPoint. I'm going to close that out. I want to talk a little bit about what you're going to find in that scoring packet. So one thing you're going to find, very important, is your order form for scoring services. And this is going to be a pink sheet. Down here, this is where you indicate how many answer documents are coming in for your school by grade level. And again, this is the aggregate of what we find, the number we find on the class ID sheet, for the teacher ID sheet. So take those teacher ID sheets for each grade level. If you have multiple teachers or multiple classes, add those up and then put those numbers in here. On the reverse side of that form, you'll find what's required for the scoring package. And this is what's coming back to you after your answer documents are scored. So you've ordered the Data Plus package with web-based reporting. You're going to get a list of student scores with class and building summaries. You're going to get student score labels for achievement, also for ability if a student took the COGAT, a student profile narrative report, and also an individual performance profile report, and a group performance profile report for a class and building. Another very important document is your directions for testing. This goes over your testing dates, your mailing dates. So please send to Riverside on or before October 2nd, 2013. You will need to contact FedEx at least a day before to set up your shipment. These are your required testing. So grade 2, grade 3, you can see grade 3, 5, and 7 all include COGAT as well. And first grade is optional. A couple important notes: students in grades 1 and or 2 will write directly in their test booklets. There are no separate answer documents for these students. Students in grades 3 through 8 will use the complete battery answer document. There will be a section for COGAT on this answer document. Grade levels such as 4th, 6th, and 8th who do not take the COGAT will just leave that section blank. Students in grade 3 will take the word analysis and listening subtests, and the directions for these tests are on page 57 of the directions for administration for levels 9 through 14. A little bit about costs. What should be included in the packet that you received. So you should get this directions for testing letter that we're looking at now, a supplemental coding letter, which I'll show you next, the order form for scoring services. This is that pink form that's going to go on the top of box 1. Pre-marked building identification sheet, which is going to go directly under that order form in that first box. The grade class identification sheets. These are a light blue color. FedEx instruction sheet. billable stamps, and special processing labels. The FedEx billable stamp and a special processing label needs to go on each box that you return to Riverside. Here are directions for filling out the class identification sheet. So in the information box, enter September 21st, 2013 for your test date, your school's name for the building name, Archdiocese of Los Angeles for the system, and the city where your school is located. Enter the name of the teacher under class name. Leave the class code blank. Grade should reflect the same grade as the student's answer document, and indicate Iowa Form E under Form. In the answer document count, indicate the number of answer documents you have under the class identification sheet for the grade. The building identification sheet, you just have one. Again, that's going to go on the top of box 1 right underneath the order form for scoring services. And this identification sheet has been pre-marked for your convenience for your school. Your school code number appears on this sheet. You can make a note of that for your file. And we discussed the order form for scoring services. All of you should have one of those. If you have any questions about this document, please give myself or Ryan a call. And then shipping your answer documents. Stack all of your answer documents for each teacher by grade. Again, there's no need to alphabetize these documents. Separate the documents with the grade class identification sheet on top of each teacher group. So you will have a class identification sheet, all of the answer documents for that teacher, and then to start a new grade or class, another class identification sheet, and then all of the answer documents for that class or teacher. So that sums up the directions for testing letter that you should have received. Now let's talk about coding. I'm going to blow this up just a little bit. So this is the supplemental coding sheet. This discusses what's included in the barcode label. So for all students, the name, birth date, and gender is included in the barcode label. Schools that have ordered grade 1 and or 2 barcode labels will have only name, birth date, and gender embedded in the label. Schools that are not using a barcode label at grade 2 must bubble in all of the following information. So you will need to bubble in the last name and the first name. Please use the student's full name, not nicknames. So if last year Matthew filled his out as Matthew, and this year he decides he's Matt, he needs to fill it out in his full name as Matthew. The birth date, the gender, and then in column A, the grade the student entered the school. These are things you will always need to bubble on the test booklet and or answer document. So you need to bubble in that's Iowa Assessment Form E, cognitive difficulty, or the COGAT, Cognitive Abilities Test, the COGAT. Please note the levels are now the same for the Iowa test. If the student is involved in a particular program, like is on an IEP, Title I for Reading Language Arts, Title I for Math, an English Language Learner, Title III, or Reading First, those will need to be coded on the answer document as well. Now, under the test administrator use only, this is where you will test students that needed accommodations. So here are the appropriate codes for the given accommodations. So A, if the student needed the test read aloud, B, for repeated directions, C, for assistance with an answer document, D, for extended time, E, for a separate location, or F, for a large print. Under column A, this is where the grade the student entered the present school. So bubble 0 for students who entered your school in grades kindergarten or in the first grade. If they did not enter in kindergarten or first grade, simply bubble the number 1 for any student who entered your school in any other grade. And this needs to be bubbled for all students this year. Going forward, we'll embed these in the barcode labels. Column B is only for those students living with a family that does not routinely speak English at home. Select 1 for Spanish spoken at home, or select 2 for other language spoken at home, such as Chinese, Korean, etc. In column Z, these students are excluded from the averages due to a pre-approved situation. So if you have a student that you would like excluded from the averages, you need approval from the Department of Catholic Schools. And then race and ethnicity, mark all that apply. You can find coding information and descriptions of race and ethnicity in the Iowa Assessments Form E Directions for Administrations on pages 18 and 19. So that sums up the coding. I'm going to close that out. These are your billable stamps. So you will put one of these on each box. This has your tracking number. Peel off and save the gray portion of this, as it will be your receipt and includes your tracking number so you can track that order. Also make sure you include the yellow sticker. That is the special processing label. You'll need one of those on each box as well. And on that label, you'll see you need to indicate that it's box 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3, however many you have. Indicate that in the space provided, and please also write it on the box, maybe like in the lower left-hand corner. It's very helpful. Again, please include your return address on this as well. And you must call FedEx at 800-463-3339 on or before October 1st to arrange a pickup at your school on October 2nd. On or before October 2nd. So a couple documents I want to discuss. These should have been emailed to you. If you don't have them, I can send them to you. Just give me a call or send me an email. But these are some new documents, and what this is the alignment of the Iowa assessment to the Common Core state standards for English language arts and math. So we have a lot of people that might ask, a lot of customers ask, how do I know what question number 3, what standard that was aligned to? This will give you that information. So I'm going to let me blow this up a little bit and zoom in. So here, these are the Common Core standards. So you can see the domain, the items on this level that address this domain or this cluster. So we have 4 that assessed key ideas and details. Here's the standard. We had 24 items that assessed integration of knowledge and ideas. Again, here's the standard. Here are the items that were assessed, that assessed this standard. So number 31, 32, 33, 34 in the reading portion assessed key ideas and details. And then it even goes a little further and it talks about at what cognitive difficulty level were those items. So all the items on the ITBS are given a cognitive difficulty level. Level 1 is essential competencies. Level 2 is conceptual understanding. And level 3 is essential reasoning. So this gives you some more information about how the test relates to the Common Core and exactly what questions fit under what cognitive difficulty level. Again, if you have any questions about this form or need some help on reading it, you can give me a call anytime and I can walk you through it. But it is nice to have on hand. And then the other form that was sent to you is the Iowa Content Classifications form. Let me just zoom in a little bit here. So this form is going to give you tables for each assessment. And what you can see here, this is the subtest, the domains within that subtest, and then the item number. So if I wanted to know what domain item number 3 on assessment assessed, it assessed modifiers. And then if I wanted to know, well, what was the average percent correct for the nation? You can find that information here. So for the first graders in the fall, the average percent correct was 82. Using the mid-year norms, the Diocese of LA is using the fall norms. Using mid-year norms, average percent correct was 87. Using the spring norms, the average percent correct was 92. So this is really helpful if you have a question about, well, exactly what items we're assessing those domains. I want to take a look at those items. You can come to this form to find that information. And you can say, well, a lot of my students were struggling with a particular item. How'd the rest of the nation do? And that information is found here for you as well. So again, just more in-depth detail to the Iowa assessment, its creation, what domains are being assessed, and what question numbers are assessing those particular domains. And finally, in that same email, we sent out a little quick start to Data Manager. This just gives you some basic directions on getting started in Data Manager. And we're going to talk about Data Manager in just a moment. But I wanted to point out this form for you. It just talks about some basic navigation, getting started, accessing your reports, where to find help. There's a lot of help embedded within Data Director, which I'm gonna show you when we venture into the system. Okay, now we're at the Data Manager portion of this presentation. So once you're logged into Data Manager, you can go to the left-hand side. This is the app switcher, and you can toggle between Overview and Reports. Assessments is to administer online assessments or the interim assessments, so this really isn't applicable to you. Now we're at the Overview screen. One thing I want to point out are the digital resources on the left-hand side. There's a lot of information in here that you may find helpful. There's information on the Iowa assessments, so technical summary, product guide, planning and implementation, message to families in English and Spanish, practice tests, online administration, which again isn't applicable to you at this time. Score interpretation guides. There's a lot of great information in here if you have questions about a particular score. Just all kinds of good stuff. Barcode application guide. So just a lot of questions can be answered right here in the digital resources. We also have digital resources for the COGAT. research and development guide, product guide, directions for administration, score interpretations, basically anything you need regarding the COGAT can be found here within the digital resources. And then for Data Manager, there's also a lot of information here. So reporting user's guide, a navigation guide, getting started, what's new in Data Manager product information, just a lot of stuff you could go through and discover on how to use Data Manager more effectively. So now one thing I want to show you that's new with Data Manager is under reports, we've added a few new reports for this year. One thing we've done, you'll notice, I'm going to change my grade level. Let's look at our fifth graders. And let's say I wanted to look at the student profile, but I want it the way it looks when it comes from the scoring center. Well, what we've added are the list of student scores in the scoring service print style. So this comes as it would come from our scoring center. It makes it a lot easier for printing. I know last year we were having issues with the reports printing. They were too large for the page. They'd print off the page. So now that we have this option, I'm going to do one for a fifth grader. Gotta get rid of kindergarten. And you'll notice when you're running these reports for the score service print style, the run report option is missing. What you do is just hit run in background, and it'll ask you to give the report a name. So I'm just going to leave the name at the default. You can name it whatever you like. Maybe the student's name or the class name if you're building a class report. I'm going to hit OK. Now that's been submitted. So it's building that report in the background as we speak. Now, where do we find that report? That's right here on the left-hand side in the report center. So if you come to the report center, you can find your report within the report center. Our report's not here yet. It takes a little bit, but we can look at an old report. So let's look at this student profile. Now here's a student's profile that looks the way it would look if it came from our scoring center. You can save this as a PDF to your desktop. Another report, so like the list of student scores. Now we have a list of student scores the way it looks coming from our scoring center. So that's a new option that we've added this year. I want to show you another report that I'm pretty excited about. So I'm going to go back to create a report. So I'm going to create a report on the Iowa assessments. The display type, I want a group profile. My grade level, let me do the fifth grade again. And then in my display option, I want to look at an estimated growth summary. So I choose the estimated growth summary. And then down below, I choose Run Report. So this is the estimated growth summary report. And what we're seeing here is we're seeing how many students exceeded the estimated growth, met estimated growth, or did not meet the estimated growth. And this is based on last year's score to this year's score. So you can see it's broken down by subtest: reading, written expression, vocabulary. We can go to the next page if we want to look at math or ELA. So it's all right here for us. Now, one thing we can do, if we want to identify the students that did not meet their growth target, we have that information right here. So by clicking on that number 5, it's going to give us the 5 students that did not meet their growth. And then from there, we can drill down to the skill level, see what skills they're struggling with. So here we are. We have our 5 students that did not meet their growth targets. Now, some of these students performed fairly well. Xavier and Zachary, they were in the 60th percentile, so they're just above average. But they didn't show the growth that was expected from 2011 to 2012. So it's kind of a nice report to see how your class is progressing. Well, that pretty much sums up what I have for you today. I'd like to take more time. I'll create another video on how to use Data Manager. We'll get a lot more in depth in using Data Manager, especially for the new principals and the new users. I think it'll be valuable to them. And again, if you ever have any questions or need some help accessing a report or any concerns, feel free to reach out and give me a call at any time. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.